This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip Electric Toothbrushes. Sent to your home every month with brush head refills. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you can get $10 off your first brush head refill.
Oh God, what are we doing?
November 9th. November 9th is what we're doing.
What are we starting with? Oh God, who cares? Let's just do this. You ready?
Yep.
It's November 9th, 2017.
And this is Important If True.
From Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
Ooh.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Started off strong there, and you just sort of petered
Well, you told
out
me to
right
stay
through.
spicy, and I stayed spicy all the way up until...
Whoa.
A whole week
Whoa.
of spiciness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, only 3 days, really.
Fair enough.
Shh, magic.
Well, I got my coffee, so I'm spicy.
Yeah, well done.
Don't even talk to me till I've had my coffee. That's my motto. That's what I always say.
Mondays.
Can't stand them.
Nope.
Don't like them. Hate Mondays. Love coffee. That's me.
You're my
Shut
kind
up.
You're my kind
Hate
of guy,
Mondays,
Chris.
love coffee, shut up. That's my Amazon.com procedurally generated mug.
Yep.
I hate Mondays, love coffee, and my mechanical engineer.
How you guys doing?
All right.
Slowly dying?
Yeah, always.
Just like
Love
everyone?
it.
Yeah. Me too.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's good to catch up, Chris. It's good to have this time to just talk about how we're slowly becoming dirt and bones.
Yeah, it's true. There was the reason I say that is well, 'cause it is
Good.
because we're all doing it. But there was something I saw months ago that I totally forgot about until just now.
It was a message that said you will die in 6 days or 1 month. Excuse me. You would be dead. You would be dead by now if you saw it a month ago.
Yeah.
No, what did you
God,
see,
that would be
Chris?
fucking morbid if I got on this podcast and was like, hey guys, saw this a month ago, forgot to tell you. It was some kind of creepy like videotape or something. Anyway, I watched it and said I was going to die in a month. That was like a month ago.
And then I requested
minus
it.
an hour. So
Right.
we really got to get this podcast done
I told you guys-
immediately.
I told you guys
'cause
record early.
I'm on the clock here.
We just want to see what's going to happen. So we
Anyway, I just hate Mondays.
I love my dentist.
Imagine if that was the last hour of my like cursed Japanese horror film existence.
He died as he lived,
Hating Mondays,
loving his coffee,
loving that coffee.
doing a stupid podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a great podcast. Doing a great podcast. Edit that.
Great podcast.
Sorry.
I will not edit that. The thing that I saw that I you guys may have seen this. It was quite a while ago at this point. This is an amazing find that someone dug up from 1891, which was as Walt Whitman, the poet, was passing away, or at least was like ailing. The New York Times.
This is a month after he was told that he had a month to live from a videotape.
The New York Times in 1891 was like started publishing health updates on Walt Whitman.
Oh yeah,
and
I know
they're
about
kind
this.
of amazing. Have you not seen this?
I have
Nick?
not seen this.
It's fascinating and weird and pretty fucked up. So let's see, on December 21st, there is just a headline in the New York Times that just says Walt Whitman dying. Period.
Jesus.
On December 22nd, the very next day, no hope for Walt Whitman. The aged poet may live 3 or 4 days longer. Oh my God. All hope of Walt Whitman's recovery has been given up by his physicians, who say, however, that he may last as long as 3 or 4 days. So that was December 22nd. December 23rd, 1891. Walt Whitman slowly dying. Illness. Walt Whitman still alive. He has given up the struggle for life and is willing to die.
God.
That was December 24th. December 25th. The poet's end very near. An unfavorable turn in the condition of Walt Whitman. December 26th as like this long, this like, oh, he should be dead by now. December 26th, toned it back a bit. Walt Whitman's condition, period. December 27th, Walt Whitman still sinking. Doubtful if poet will be living this morning. December 28th, Walt Whitman still lingering. December 29th, 1891, Walt Whitman about the same. You know what? That was December. What did I just say?
28th?
28th. You know when Walt Whitman fucking died? March 26th, 1892. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Can you imagine Can you imagine fucking your Walt Whitman and you subscribe to the New York Times?
Yeah.
God, also, can you imagine just the halcyon days of journalism where you could pay a reporter every day to just write a story about Walt Whitman?
To
for
to
months?
take a horse out to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm on the Walt Whitman beat. That's just
Walt
my
Whitman,
job.
We got our Walt Whitman bureau out in Philadelphia.
Back in the good times.
So that was the
Our dying poet beat.
Yeah, that was some of the selections that someone found earlier this year. I went back on the New York Times archive that dates back, I think until even several decades earlier than this. But I researched it even more, and an even more sort of morbid picture presents itself. So that story began on December 21st, 1891. Even, by the way, that was even earlier than the excerpts that someone found. Like they found it starting on December 23rd, but if you look even further back, there was more. If you go all the way back to April 6th, 1890, the previous year, there's a story headlined, "Walt Whitman ill. Too much spring air has given poet the grip." So even just like light illnesses of Walt Whitman were considered newsworthy. And then again, a month and a half later, May 27th, 1890, Walt Whitman has bad cold. So there's something like... Definitely, if you were Walt Whitman and you were a New York Times subscriber, a terrible, a strange. This is like a precursor to our. This is like the Facebook feed,
right? Walt Whitman got like tailored content.
Yeah, exactly. If you just had to be famous enough.
Although that said,
we all get the Walt Whitman treatment now.
That's kind of. Imagine if you opened up Facebook and it said Chris Ramo has days to live, and you'd be like, how do you, what?
Yeah.
Chris Ramo is fine.
Yeah.
Doing
Chris
all
Ramo's
right.
Still
fine.
hanging on.
Yeah.
What? What? Is that, I mean, I guess, yes. True.
7 years ago today, Chris Ramo has 3 days to live. We've made a video celebrating
reshare.
your 3 days to live. Ding, dick, ding, dick, ding, dick, ding. As a little sort of cake opens up various pictures of headlines about you dying.
8 years ago, you became friends with Capricious Genie. 7 years ago, you made pact with the devil.
Right. 3 years ago, cursed.
You changed relationship status to
cursed to die in 3 years. Da, 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 da. Our video team made this for you. By watching this video, you will die in 1 week.
So, yeah, good times. Sorry, guys. Hope the podcast keeps up in my absence. Maybe I'll just go to some kind of like limbo or purgatory.
Maybe it'll be a situation where you still
where I can negotiate my way out of this deal.
You could just haunt the podcast also. That'd be fine.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
There wouldn't
Like
really
if Nick
be any
and I,
difference.
if
It's just
Nick,
audio.
if Nick and I are in here doing the show, but then to readers at home, you're just sort of like going woo in the background and being annoyed by the things we're talking about.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
God, that would be so much easier for me.
You just go woo.
I just go woo. I wouldn't have to like read about Walt Whitman.
Yeah, who wants to do that?
The readers of the New York
The
Times.
New York Times really do. They
1891.
need it.
Very important. Shall we do an email?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Dear Chris Ramo, you have 1 week to live.
Your genie. Christopher writes, I have 1 week to live. Christopher, it is from Christopher. Christopher writes, when I was in first grade, I had an obsession with ketchup. Oh my God, this email is amazing. Sorry, no, I just remember this email. When I was in first grade, I had an obsession with ketchup. I had yet to learn the contours that draw the borders between good and bad combinations of food. I strove in my naivete to break through to new boundaries in what ketchup could accompany. To sum up my alchemical experiments in a sentence, peanut butter, jelly, and ketchup sandwiches were among my tamer attempts. Ugh, that is revolting. For my 7th birthday, my grandfather had a local printer print custom labels in Heinz ketchup bottles. CJ the Ketchup King was their branding. That is just also now a completely plausible bullshit artisanal ketchup micro brand that you sell to like Whole Foods.
My friend's dad worked at a sign like painting and vinyl manufacturing, like vinyl sign manufacturing company, and they had the regional like Nintendo resellers license. So for my birthday, I was given by him a sign that said Jake's World of Nintendo in like on brand, and I still have it.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
It's in my parents' attic somewhere.
Oh wow, very good.
I wish that it had said Jake the Ketchup King, though.
in Nintendo font, in that oval.
Yes.
Or cylinder shape. Anyway, the email continues. So, Heinz ketchup bottles, CJ the Ketchup King was the branding. Unfortunately, my youthful ignorance, propelled by the whimsy of my grandfather, led me to an unfortunate decision. I leaned into the notion that I was the Ketchup King. God, that is so relatable and terrible. Fast forward a few weeks. I am infatuated by a girl in my grade and have decided to express my adoration. But first, I decided to get a second opinion on my plan. I asked the neighbor girl for her opinion. Due to the slightest instinct for self-preservation, I asked her brother, my childhood bully, and their mother to wait inside. I proceeded to do an imitation of a jig, singing, I am the Ketchup King, I am the Ketchup King, and the Ketchup King likes you very much. The laughter from the mother and bully son was thunderous. I never expressed my feelings for the girl, and I was glad I was able to move to a new continent 1 year later. Do you have any moments of childhood self-hoisting or self-branding? God, I want to shrivel up and die just because I read that email. Thank God I'm cursed, and I only have a month to live. I can. I can
really
so
just
palpably. I don't know that I ever did anything that sort of.
Yeah.
Right.
Specific.
But your self-constructed sense of identity that has no bearing on actual social mores is a thing that happens as a kid.
Yes.
I don't have any stories like that at all.
And the ability to lean into something like that someone else created, because you don't know what the world is yet. So like your grandfather is like, you see this official looking thing and it's got your name. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, I totally am that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tame version of that I'm sure that a lot of kids do, where like if someone tells you can draw, you're just like, I'm an artist, and you just call yourself that and label that all over your own shit.
You should be a stand-up comedian.
Right, and you're like, oh, and then you eventually realize you're like, I can sing. You can't. Like, I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah.
But I'm the Ketchup King takes that to an extreme level.
And the jig and the
jig,
song.
yeah.
It's very real.
It's there must be there must be just a certain like kind of.
It's okay that level of sort of not caring what other people think and having fun just gets fucking beaten out of you. So you know. I look longingly, personally, at CJ the Ketchup King and remember a simpler time when Walt Whitman's illness was news and when anyone could just do the Ketchup King dance to woo their love.
Dance like nobody's watching.
Yep. Or like a random girl who's your neighbor, your bully, and his mom are listening.
Wait, so what was your story?
Oh, my story is completely unrelated to being the Ketchup King or doing a dance.
Really weird. I would have thought you had a completely relevant story to being the Ketchup King.
No.
I was the Mustard King.
All of this time.
I was the Mustard Lord. Lord Mustard. Desires you greatly. Will thou attend the ball with your lord and master, the Mustard Lord? Yeah. So sorry.
I was. God, can't even. I was going to go with just more titles and condiments and just fuck that. No, all of this talk of someone who loves ketchup as a kid reminds me of the year that I absolutely hated ketchup as a kid. My dad.
This really reminds me of that year when I really hated ketchup.
We've talked so much in recent weeks about weird associations and about things that make your brain jump to completely different things. And this, reading this the first time I read that email last week, it actually kind of grossed me out.
Wait, which one last week?
This just when the email first came in, we all sort of looked at it. Mm-hmm. It gave me a little bit of a gag reflex because it reminded me of this time. So my dad is an acoustical and environmental and sometimes sort of mechanical engineer. It means he
installs sound baffling for complicated.
Yeah, like the freeway walls or just loud factories that are near residences. Mm-hmm. He ends up having to figure out how to make them quiet. And sometimes as a kid, I would do ride-alongs with him when he would go out to job sites. We went to the Hunt tomato paste factory, which I thought was going to be interesting because, they make tomato paste and ketchup, and, that's weird. Truckloads and truckloads and truckloads and truckloads of just crushed tomatoes mixed with, the tomato paste, refuse smell coming out of smokestacks. I've never... It's whether or not you like tomatoes or ketchup... it is irrelevant once you basically have all of your senses just dunked in them for an entire day.
Yeah.
It was the most vile smell. And then at the end of the day, we went to Carl's Jr. and there was just a little I squirted the tomato ketchup packet out to dip a fry into it and just went, I wanted to barf.
Yeah.
So when I hear about this kid loving ketchup and just smearing it on every food and just loving it, all I can think about is the day that I went to a tomato factory with my dad and just wanted to barf from just inhaling tomato fumes all day.
You have a lot of negative smell memories.
Yeah. Those are the two. That one and the human cadaver smell. Yeah. That one's justifiable, I think, Chris.
I'm not saying Hey, I'm not saying it's not justifiable. I mean, the ketchup factory I can totally, or the tomato paste factory I can totally relate to that as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I have a really bad smell memory that it took a decade and a half, maybe over a decade to pass. I was so last week I talked about being on academic team in early high school.
Yeah.
Another thing I did was Science Olympiad, which is I don't know if you guys had that. Academic team, by the way, I didn't explain what that was. It was some schools had a thing that was similar that they called Quiz Bowl. Some had a thing called Mathletes, but that's not what this was because it wasn't math. It was knowledge, about sort of history and culture and stuff. And what you'd go and compete against other schools' academic
So it was
teams.
Trivia, but edutainment.
Yeah, it's like trivia, but not pop culture. It would be stuff you would learn in sort of. It was college level knowledge, right? So the point was it was not stuff you would just have automatically learned in high school, which is one of the reasons it was difficult to be on the team, which is one of the reasons I was not able to keep being on the team eventually. But anyway, you compete against other schools. So anyway, that was that, and there was regional and national championships and stuff. The other thing was Science Olympiad, which I think is a more standardized thing nationally, where your school, you form up into small teams and then I don't even remember how it works. You make experiments that prove something or demonstrate something, and there's all these different categories of science that you do it in, and there's a competition and everything, but a big part of it is just doing fun science stuff with your other classmates who are in Science Olympiad. And we were at one of those, and where it was one of our friends who had a garage space or something we could use. We all went over to their house and were working on our Science Olympiad thing. And we had, it was I don't even remember what we were making, but we had different substances acids and bases and vinegars and things like that.
Sure.
And the reason that I can relate to the Ketchup King person is because I feel like there's a certain kind of kid where if you're basically a socially awkward dork at a young age, there's a direction you can go, which is just to be totally kind of inward and withdrawn. And then there's another direction. I'm sure there's a million in between, but there's another general direction you can go, which is to sort of play up your kind of awareness of that and kind of just like be goofier.
A really
and
self-aware, but in the wrong way, goofball.
In the total wrong way, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to CJ the Ketchup King. And I definitely had, especially I would say in like elementary school,
yeah, same.
I totally had those impulses. Although this was high school, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. But it came out differently in high school, I guess, as discussed last week. But we had a huge bottle of white vinegar, and someone was like, "Oh man, I'll dare someone like $5 to drink this entire thing of white vinegar." And I was like, I'll do that. And I sort of weirdly, for some reason, justified it by like, I can use that for gas money. Like, I just really need the gas money. It's like,
what?
I don't, yeah. I remember,
classic, that kind of teen stupid bullshit.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was like, try to find some way to like.
It's cool, actually.
Yeah, it's actually totally fine. It's like, whatever.
Good God.
Yeah. And I chugged the entire bottle of white vinegar. And yeah,
God.
And it was easily one of the. I mean, I would declare it as as the most revolting thing I've ever done. I can't think of any counter evidence to
You've
that.
You've probably done worse.
But that's that's way up there for sure.
Oh, you got that gas money, cool.
Yeah, I got $5.
Drive home and like throw up forever.
Yeah. What's horrible? I think what made it worse is that I never did throw up. And so it was just
sitting about that in you
me, and I smelled it on myself for at least a week, and then for years and years and years, I would say through the remainder of high school, through college, for years after college, whiffing white vinegar, which is like it's more potent than like balsamic vinegar, because balsamic has like kind of the sweetness, and you know, an apple cider vinegar has like that other like fruitiness, but white vinegar is very just sort of intensely vinegary. And so smelling that would instantly make me sort of dry heave and just want to retch. It was horrible.
Wow, I'm glad that your story combines my ketchup story and CJ's ketchup story into your vinegar story. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I mean, the stupidest thing about shit like that is that at the time when I did it, people were like, that's funny. And then 3 minutes later,
they were
everyone is done and moving on. I'm like, see you next time, guys.
Didn't even get a vine out of it.
Like, exactly. Well, that's the thing.
If only I had that vine.
That's seriously that's the thing that actually terrifies me. Is I mean I'm not saying this because I'm trying to say like, oh, kids these days or anything. I'm saying this purely out of kind of a like psychic sympathy for people in this situation. I can't even imagine being that age and disposition now with the prevalence of social media and all of the additional social pressures that exist to like fulfill that goal of sort of public clownery, for the world. I mean, I've seen fucking teen vines that are amazing, that are, hilarious and clever and incredible, but there's also definitely a lot that are just shit like that is just, there's way more vectors to like encourage you to do that kind of thing.
They also live forever.
Not if it's a Vine.
Well, true.
Yeah, true. R.I.P. Vine.
Yeah.
But in general, yes, that's
but I mean, like,
on the internet forever.
If that had existed when you were a kid,
we
would now be able to just present this video of Chris drinking.
There's a Facebook video that says we've assembled this video of your memories, and it's just you drinking vinegar and you getting like knocking over the Krispy Kreme sign and you just like getting punched in the gut by someone, and then it says you're gonna die in 3 years.
15. Remember 15 years ago? Share your curse. Play. $5.
Yeah. You destroyed your life for this ukulele montage.
Yeah. That's happening right now. All the seeds of that for the last decade have been sown. I mean, Facebook started when
Sorry, I'm having like a mental breakdown thinking about like the accurate version of that, where like some algorithm actually knows how long you have to live, and then it's just compiling more and more video bullshit of you just doing nothing with your life.
Facebook,
it's just like, you've got 23 years to live. You've got 22 years to live. Here's the last, 30 years. You did nothing. You drank vinegar. Good job. Like, now you're gonna die.
God, yeah, the Facebook video that is just you, like, yeah, getting punched in the stomach and drinking vinegar and like doing a bunch of just idiotic shit, and then and then like this is Facebook like 2050.
Yeah.
And then the final ones are just like you on your security cam, like sort of chuckling with like a smoker's cough to like shit on TV.
I thought you could say watching all your old Facebook memories.
That. But and it just says you've lived a great life, and that's the end. Don't worry. That's fine.
Yeah.
Worry. That's fine.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
It's true. Oh, dire.
Yeah.
5 years ago, you watched this video about your friendship.
I was just thinking that, yeah. Man, that's going to be a total plot device in a sort of neo-noir film of the future. You like just someday you click your like 8 years ago video, and then
you fucking see the killer behind you.
On the 9th clip, you see just like the ominous figure sort of walk by the outside of your window. Like, holy shit!
Sorry, God. What? Pause that. Go back a few frames, and it's just
Enhance.
like it's just a shitty like plaster giant birthday cake that's slowly swinging out of frame. But on the last, like the only copy of this video is embedded inside of your congrats on your 5th year of Facebook video.
Mark my words. It's happening.
That doesn't even need to be in some sort of neo-noir. That would just be in any like modern procedural,
like cheap.
That's true. It
would, like any sort of like British sad detective, modern technology, modern social problems mystery show.
Okay, I was thinking it would be in the sort of CW glossy teen.
They all have the same thing,
drama.
though. I mean,
that's true. It'll be in the CW one within the next 3 years, and it'll be in the BBC one within the next 15
and the sort of
years.
stubbly, like divorced detective, or really sort of frustrated in life middle-aged woman detective solving a social issues murder BBC show.
Yeah,
that's about cyberbullying probably. As one of the threads.
See, I would imagine it would be about like an actual murder because it's normalized. It's not like
Chris. It's definitely about an actual murder, but it's definitely also about a kid or parent whose kid was teased by a bunch of people, and then someone is murdered, and then it's
probably the detective, her like son is involved in a cyberbullying thing separately, and at the beginning of the series they appeared to be unrelated, separate events. But then by midway
this is definitely in the Happy Valley Broadchurch model of that. But if that genre was also just coupled with the aesthetic of some sort of cybercrimes thing, I would be very happy with that. A Blade Runner, but it's about just like a sad, like and frustrated middle-aged woman mother British detective. That's fine. Give me that show.
Yeah. On that note, actually, I'm going to pre-endorse something. I am going to say you should watch Happy Valley.
Oh, it's great.
Which is so good. Happy Valley is great. It's a British sort of. It's not really a procedural. It's a British.
It's like a crime drama,
serialized crime drama television show that I think. Who owns the rights to it in the U.S.? Netflix?
It's a Netflix show in the U.S.
It's in the U.S. It's a Netflix show.
It's a Netflix BBC co-produced, I think.
Yeah, I think that's correct. And it's about a middle-aged policewoman in a kind of, I guess, mid-sized English town.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's so rare to see a woman character of that type played so straight on television without... it matters that she's a woman and that impacts her life as it should, but it's also just it's not sensationalized or turned into something gimmicky. It's just a really good show about a character who's portrayed really fully and well.
Yeah, some of the actual the actual crime and criminal characters are infinitely less interesting to me than the main character and her life. But it's really good. Yes.
So anyway, watch Happy Valley. It's really good.
Yep. And then imagine a crazy cyberpunk version.
Yeah, then imagine her finding a crucial clue in a 7-year-old Facebook video montage. Let's take a break. This episode of Important If True is brought to you by Quip Electric Toothbrushes.
Auctioneer ad this week.
Get them today. Try quip.com/thumbs for $10 off your first brush head refill. Every 3 months, Quip will send you a new brush head so that you always have that fresh, good, plaque-removing toothbrush ready to go. Keep your mouth clean. It's got all kinds of very subtle but good features, like a 2-minute timer split up into 4 30-second segments so that you can evenly spread out your brushing among the 4 quadrants of your teeth. It's a very handy thing. I'm so reliant and accustomed to that now. I shudder to think how frequently in the past I brushed my teeth for less than the recommended full 2 minutes. But no longer, thanks to Quip. And if you go to tryquip.com/thumbs, you'll get $10 off your first brush head refill. They start at only $5, so you're all set right there. Tryquip.com/thumbs. This episode of Important If True is also brought to you by Warby Parker prescription eyeglasses and sunglasses. And if you go to warbyparkertrial.com/thumbs, you can get 5 frames sent to your home for 5 days for free. So you can try them on, see what style you like. They have a whole lot. You pick the 5 you like. They come in a box with the names of each frame on there, so you can look in the mirror, take selfies, send them to your partner or friends. It's just a great service. You can try a bunch of glasses on.
You could dare your friend to wear them all at once for gas money.
That's exactly right. That would be a lot less traumatic than a lot of other things you could do for similar motivations. And also, at the end of this, you'll end up with sunglasses or eyeglasses that make you see better. So if you go to warbyparkertrial.com/thumbs, you can get that home try-on kit sent to your home for free. warbyparkertrial.com/thumbs.
It's true.
It's all true. Not.
Now's the prime chance to try.
All right,
let's do it.
Oh, yeah, fuck it. I'll try it.
All right, we're back.
Wow.
We are back.
Whoa.
Cool.
Wow.
Man, Jake's not back.
I never left.
Oh, okay. I guess that's why.
Wow.
Jake's so unimpressed by being back because he's been here the whole time.
I have. I've been sitting in this chair recording this podcast with you people.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up. We're going to read an email from Rebecca who writes, "Hi everybody. It seems like every couple of years we find out that something we thought was perfectly safe and fine is actually a horrible disease-making machine like smoking or asbestos."
It's like finding out that you're cursed to die by watching a video.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder what seemingly innocuous
drinking vinegar.
everyday things could secretly be death traps. Maybe peanut butter and jelly sandwiches cause dementia, or dish soap somehow causes scoliosis. What seemingly innocent everyday things do you predict or secretly hope to be death in disguise? Love the show, love the banter, keep up the good work. Mishi. Secretly hope.
Yeah, I know. That part of the question is very.
That part of the question is tailored to this
leading.
moment in reality, in which I secretly hope everything is death in disguise.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, Yellowstone might erupt, ending all life.
Yeah.
Yes, God, please.
Bring it on.
Sweet release.
Yeah, I hope our current lifestyle brings about our demise now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed it up. We can clearly tell.
1 week.
It's bringing about our slow.
1 week.
Come on, like a day.
Come on, I'm cursed to die in a week. Can it just come on? Come on, speed it up.
Minutes. We only got.
Chris
30 more
quickly
minutes in this
fast forwards
podcast.
through the Ring VHS in hopes that it accelerates the death curse.
I don't really have an example of this specific an answer for this specific question, but I do have something I don't know if you guys have think along these lines, but when you see something and you just
you say something.
Yes. When you see something that could be dangerous, and then your mind just immediately makes it dangerous, or thinks about the thing that would happen if you fell down or whatever.
Yeah.
I wake up every morning and the way I wake up, I'm either just completely at rest, just hating everything and not wanting to get out of bed, or I like leap out of bed. Like
wow, really?
Like it's just
I'm so
never
much more in the middle.
never groggily just sort of like clamber out of bed. Like it's always just like boom. And then when I jump out of bed, I kind of do like a roll. And then sort of, I hit the vertical.
Like a barrel roll?
Yeah, kind of. I just sort of like roll out of bed and then I get a little forward momentum.
Do a somersault, you jump up.
yeah, I do a handstand.
And you say,
Look out, world! It's Nick Brecken, and this is important.
I'm the ketchup king. I'm Nick Brecken. No, but so I like.
You're the fucking mayonnaise king. That's what you are. You disgusting
it's true.
sack
Oh God,
of
I
shit.
love it. Oh, I had a mayonnaise thing happen the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I thought of you, Chris. I was like, oh,
you had
Chris
a
would hate
mayonnaise
this.
thing happen.
Oh, it was
to
just
you,
a really gross.
And you can't remember. You had a gross mayonnaise.
Oh, it was so gross.
Happened. To
Oh,
you.
I know what it was.
That's an amazing.
I put
passive
mayonnaise.
voice construction.
I put mayonnaise on a hot dog, and I just knew if you were there, you would have been barfing in your mouth. I was so happy just dripping this mayonnaise on top of a hot dog.
Antagonistic, fatalistic.
I got out of bed with just vim and vigor, put mayonnaise on a hot dog, said, I'm Nick Brecken, the mayonnaise king, and then I imagined Chris barfing in his mouth.
And I danced a jig.
And then I thought, I hope this is deadly.
Yeah.
This is the most fatalistic,
You did a jig.
antagonistic episode of this podcast that we've maybe
Also
ever
the most
recorded.
passively delivered. I had a mayonnaise thing happen. What was it? I imagined you barfing.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you actually going to say?
I was gonna say I'll give you $5 to eat all this mayonnaise. No,
So you leapt out of bed.
I leap out of bed.
You're
I do this
Nick
every
Brecken.
morning.
This is
every
important
morning,
if true.
Every morning I do this, and
Or you sit around miserable.
right, and I get a lot of forward momentum, such that like I'm basically like the first step.
What the
I'm
hell are
leaning.
you-
No, listen, and I have this enormous dresser that is kind of in parallel to
Like
our
a chest
to our
of
bed.
drawers?
Yeah. And the dresser it's
got sharp edges.
It's got a very sharp.
So do you just imagine
pointy
yourself
edge.
like
every
Oh.
day, literally every day that I get out of bed, I imagine myself tripping as I
imagine,
get
like,
out of bed, and then specifically the corner of the dresser hits my eye,
No!
Okay, so wait, so
and then I die.
So Chris,
And like every morning, I
So-
think I should do something about this corner. But I'm so groggy that I just don't ever do
You're
anything.
not groggy. You're fucking leaping out
Well,
of mayonnaise.
it's
king.
sort of in between.
So we're living. This episode brought to you by like late '90s horror movies where Chris
Yeah,
Chris
yeah.
watched
It's
The
Final
Ring and is
Destination.
cursed,
Yeah.
and you are Final Destination cursed.
Yeah.
I don't know what my curse is.
That's your curse, man.
Not knowing the curse.
Not knowing your curse. Your curse
don't know
can
your
strike
curse.
at any time.
Boring. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm some like Linklater character.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Man, Nick, maybe
Trash.
you're just minority reporting.
Oh yeah,
You see
maybe.
this every morning? It's like
Yeah.
a persistent vision that you have.
No, I mean, yeah, I do think like at some point this is just bound to happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, if if I don't come into a podcast one morning,
Yeah.
it's probably because I tripped into
I used
that
to when I was a kid. I used to have that a very similar thing where we had the staircase in our home when I was growing, or one of our.
Oh, I think you've talked about
growing
this
up.
before.
Oh, where I run down the stairs real
Yeah.
fast. Yeah, I would like. I actually, I have talked about it. Yeah, I would slide down the stairs on my heels, and
Yeah,
I would
we both did
whip,
the same
whip
thing,
around
yeah.
the corner, and I'd always imagine, what if I just slammed my head right into this like 90-degree hard corner of this wall? Because I'd always come within
Your head
like,
would explode.
centimeters of doing so, and I'm like, what if I just did
It would
that
explode.
and like gave myself a concussion, and then just like fell out of control and slammed into the wall and fell down. And I would think about it every day, but I would still keep doing it.
Kids are pretty dumb.
Yeah, kids are really stupid, but so are adults.
I'm sure that I've talked about this before, and this is just far afield of this email at this point. But things that my brain does that where I imagine the self-sabotage version, it's almost never bodily harm to myself. It's almost always anxiety about my keys being lost. Like whenever I walk past the storm drain, I think like, God, if my keys fell in, I'd be fucked. Or like when
When I think about that
I
kind
do
of thing,
that.
I walk
well,
along
yeah.
a lake every day on my way to work, and I'm just like, oh, fuck, if my keys just fell in the lake, I'd be fucked. And like, why do I think that? I've thought that for years. Like I have memories
Yeah.
going back to high school of just like, if my keys for some reason fell into the Petaluma River,
Yeah.
which is the river in my town, I couldn't get them back. And then what would I do? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, it would just be a hassle. I'd have to replace my keys. But like
Yeah,
I have
I
this
know.
just dread.
Well, then
Have
I
you
had
ever
that-
lost your keys? Ever?
No!
Okay.
Well, I
so
had
this
that
is, yeah,
situation.
I've
completely
never like
irrational.
lost my keys.
Yeah.
I've never like thrown my phone out of like anywhere.
Right.
You know, like it just doesn't happen. But I still think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I totally had that situation like a month and a half ago that I talked about on the podcast where I locked my keys inside when Sarah and I were like formally
That's not the same
dressed
as
and
literally
I did
just
all this-
watching your keys go
no,
bloop.
No, I know it's not, but the same thing was required
Yeah.
to fix it. I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't, like, you're right, it's not the same, but it's like, but my point is that the thing that you're worried about was the thing I had to do, and it was a big pain in the ass, but it was still solvable.
I went to visit our friends at Panic, a software company in Portland, and I was in their office is like on the third floor, and I got in the elevator with Sean and another person, a woman, got in the elevator with us, and right when she leaned over to press the button. Her key ring fell out of her hands and just went and just slurped down into the crack of the elevator.
And
I went, "Ugh," like that was just like, oh
and
no!
then you fell into the crack
God,
and disappeared.
yeah.
And then
shriveled
somebody
up
hit the
and died.
close door button, and then it closed.
I mean, on my brain. Yeah. No, she had to call the building manager and go down to the basement and got her keys back. But just watching them sort of like go ding, 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 and just sort of slurp down and just like, and they didn't get caught. It just but everyone just saw them just disappear and be like, wow, they're just gone. Like they literally are just not in our universe anymore.
Yeah. I feel like there must be some kind of latent human impulse or passive human impulse that nudges things towards outcomes like that. Not in general. I mean, obviously, most of the time you don't drop your keys or lose your keys, and it's fine. But the one time you do drop your keys, it's in that like what are the of all the surfaces on the planet?
I read an article about this, and I never bothered to check if it was real or not. But it was a thing basically saying, don't. I'm doing the thing that it says not to do. Don't phrase things inside of your brain as "don't do X" because what you're actually repeating is that, like
is the possibility that
it's like don't drop your keys, don't drop your keys, don't drop your keys. The thing that you're saying more often than not is just drop your keys, as opposed to hold on to your keys.
Right. Yeah.
And I read that, I went, that makes sense, but I bet also sounds like just completely outrageous, non-real advice. But I also but it rings true emotionally, whether or not it's actually true. That you're like, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, don't fuck up, fuck up, fuck up, fuck up, fuck up, you're a fuck up. Like, oh, shit.
No, it's true. I mean, I guess the risk in the other direction, if you're constantly always telling yourself to hold your keys, is then you risk becoming a, like, Howard Hughes, hold the keys.
Show me the blueprints.
Yeah. I was going to say something about
Don't say the way of the future over and over again. Don't say the way of the future. Don't say the way of the future. The way of the future.
Yeah. I got to rewatch The Aviator. I haven't seen that movie in
Let's
years.
endorse The Aviator.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? What were we actually talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, things that will secretly end up poisoning you or becoming bad for your health. Everything. I imagine basically anything that I do or don't do will turn out the things that I've done are actually horrible for me, and the things that I didn't do would make me be happier. Mm-hmm. I assume that every choice that I make is bad, and it'll just one day the world will just out them all as terrible.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
I mean, if you follow nutritional science, that's basically how it is.
I mean, I drink a lot and eat a lot of junk food, and I'm sure at some point someone's going to tell me that's not good for me, which sucks.
It's always going bad. Oh, I can never figure out what's good or bad for you.
One day they say that Cheetos are great for you, and then the next day they don't. No, it's weirred.
Just stuff my face full of sweet tarts and Flamin' Hot Cheetos and extravagant sugary cocktails.
Yeah.
It's weird. I mean, sure, the science is going to come back around on those.
Yeah, back and forth so many times. Whoever knows.
I don't smoke.
There you go. That's one thing you got going on.
Don't smoke.
That actually is totally... I feel like that is actually... If you look at what happens with... seriously, if you look at, like, abstinence-only education, clearly that is just a totally true fact, right? Like, people who are brought up to... I mean, not just sex, but just anything that is just that you're sort of repressed and constantly told not to do it. Like, definitely that is, like, the most likely to... swing back in the most aggressive way, right?
That's kind of like saying dropping your keys in the elevator is forbidden but tantalizing. Forbidden but tantalizing. No, I did it.
Well, okay. So
and then you're like,
Although, you know what? I feel like
you're right.
That's a thing because I've said
dropping your keys down the elevator is also a sweet release of responsibility.
Chris, you and I have actually we've talked about this before, where you and I both independently have the fantasy of just occasionally thinking about throwing your phone into
you're right.
That's tantalizing as shit.
chucking your phone off of a building or just like into a river or something. Yeah. Oh god.
It's
I think about it all the time. All the time.
You're right.
I love it. I love that.
So just why don't you do it?
I don't know. I mean, the only reason is because I know I would just have to fucking go spend hundreds of dollars on a new one.
Would you though?
I mean, yes, I would.
You could become like feature phone guy.
Yeah.
You could be like, I'm texting right now by pressing like 5 buttons.
Right. Yeah. To say one word. Yeah. But no, that is such a powerful, seductive fantasy. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love fantasizing about it.
Yep.
And that one actually is like
so lame.
The one on top of a building is especially sort of electrifying.
And then I could take a life.
Because I have I don't really have a fear of heights, but I definitely have a thing where if I'm on an actual skyscraper where it's physically possible that you could just jump off of it, if you're on an observation deck or something, I do definitely think about like I get that weird like charge of like right. I'm sure that's very, very common. And so when you that is like combined with the phone throwing impulse into this total like frisson of just like danger and sort of absolving of responsibility and just it's powerful, it's potent. All right, well, should we endorse?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'll go. I rarely go first, I think. Was it on this podcast or was it somewhere else, Jake, where you were complaining about...
Fuck you.
What?
What was I complaining about? I never complained.
You were complaining about that sort of short-lived meme on Twitter of like 5 movies that you should watch if you want to understand.
Oh yeah, it was on one of our
definitely on this podcast.
Yeah, it was on this or Idle Thumbs. It's probably this one.
I totally agree with you.
5 movies you have to watch to understand me. Shut up.
Right, yeah. I agree with
5 video games you have to play.
You're going to say I agree, but I've got one now.
Yeah,
okay.
It's true. I totally agree. I agree, and I don't actually think the thing I'm going to say is actually that. But man... Recently, Sarah and I rewatched Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the 2011 film. Yeah, you're rolling your eyes. I know. I know how fucking stupid this is. But if you haven't seen that movie, please watch it.
It's a great fucking movie.
It's a great movie, and there's something about it that if I can ever understand why this is true, I will probably learn something about myself and or the world, but there's something about that movie that just so powerfully speaks to me in a way that is hard for me to remember almost anything else in my adult life. I would have countless examples of this as a teen. I mean, if
a tale of persevering and doing living your life out of a sense of duty in the face of just oppressive horribleness.
See, I don't even I don't even know what
I know.
That doesn't mean but
it's just such a bleak movie.
It's a very bleak movie, but there's something about it that speaks to me powerfully. When I think back to when I was like 18, that would have been the prime age when I could have, if Twitter had been a thing back then, that I would have shared that meme and been wholeheartedly into it, right?
Yeah.
Like that was like for me. I mean, as is the case for a lot of adolescents at that age, I was powerfully into things. I mean, the music that I loved, the books that I loved, the movies that I loved, I identified with on a level that it was almost like sort of violent in its enthusiasm and self-conception, right? I mean, that's just something that I remember being such a potent element of my identity as a teen, again, as I'm sure is true for a lot of people. And it's just, at least I don't get that feeling to that same degree as an adult, but somehow the 2011 adaptation of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, a movie that has literally nothing to do with my life in any form or fashion whatsoever, speaks to me powerfully, and I think it's a movie more people should watch. And it's directed by Thomas Alfredson, and is an adaptation of a John le Carré spy novel.
There's something about the way that George Smiley, the main character in that movie, perseveres by basically just doing the work in the face of basically every single thing in the world being terrible. And it's still at a great personal cost, but he has just the satisfaction of knowing that he accomplished that one small thing by literally just doing the work that I think is really satisfying, and also just like defeating at the same time. Like, it's both of those things. Like, when he gets to the end of that and you're just like, fuck, that was exhausting. I don't know if that was worth it. But also just watching him persevere through process alone is really satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's spoiler.
That's part of it for sure. And there's a bigger sense of melancholy that pervades the whole thing that I find really captivating. Actually, you know what? I'm going to sort of sub-endorse a thing that is in that movie but is also its own
I thought this
work.
was going to be like a subtitle. I'm going to sub-endorse some people who just... Anyway, you're sub-endorsing.
I'm going to sub-endorse someone who thinks the framework for me endorsing this is pretty pathetic. Not
wow,
saying
thanks
who.
for endorsing someone.
My sub-endorsement is the performance of La Mer, the song that is known in English as Beyond the Sea by Julio Iglesias, which is used in an incredible ending sequence in the film Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. And it's the thing that I love about it, I think, speaks to the thing I love about the film Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It's a little bit different, but it's a live recording that is very imperfect. I mean, he sort of flubs a few notes in his vocal performance in a way that I find very endearing and human. And it also takes a song that is intensely melancholy, but backs it with this sort of disco brass performance that feels like it's trying to take something ultimately melancholy and sad, and with a more upbeat instrumentation, just force that round peg into the square hole of like fun and energizing almost dance music. And there's something about that tension and the sort of impossibility of that marriage that I find heartbreaking, but also almost kind of life affirming. It's kind of like the smiley thing that you said, Jake, except that in the case of the Julio Iglesias performance, it's not doing the work. It's more just trying so hard against all odds and maybe not even succeeding, but still finding joy in it. And I think it's really meaningful that that's the ending song in that film. It's one of the most brilliant.
Yeah, the last couple minutes
choices.
of that movie are just out of control.
Yeah, I've seen that movie probably, I don't know, 8 times or something, and I've watched that ending sequence on YouTube probably 50 times at least.
By the way, if you're watching the video version of this podcast, this room is at least lightly themed around the final shot of that movie.
I didn't even think about that. But yes, our podcast studio is directly, I mean, you say lightly, but it is an intentional...
Well, we've gummed a bunch of shit into it at this point. But
we've
the orange foam and polished wood table with just some like black pieces of analog equipment in it is just entirely...
Yeah, surrounded by orange
foam.
Sound-baffling foam, yeah. That is a direct lift of a set from Tinker Tailor
and
Soldier
basically
Spy.
the final scene of that movie.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will. That's been a long, rambly endorsement for me, so I'll cut it short.
I have that recording of La Mer on my iPhone. It's one of the few things that I keep downloaded locally because I love it so much.
Yeah, it's an incredible. I actually have the full album that's from on vinyl, and I listen to it sometimes.
I'm a fool for not having that.
Shit.
Nick. I assume Jake's shit means he doesn't have an endorsement queued up yet. Nick,
yeah.
go ahead. What is your endorsement?
I'm also going to endorse a film. It's a less essential film, but it surprised me. It's called Too Funny to Fail. And why did I say it like that? Too Funny to Fail.
To me.
It's a documentary. It's a Hulu documentary about the Dana Carvey show, which was a failed...
From the 90s?
Yeah, a failed sketch comedy show from 1996, I believe. And if you don't know what the show was, I mean, it was Dana Carvey coming off of the back of SNL. And he quit and started at the height of his popularity. He quit and went and started this show. It followed, I think, Home Improvement. Yeah, it was Home Improvement at like 9:30, and it famously was just way too edgy to be airing after Home Improvement.
It was only on for a couple episodes.
It was on for 7 episodes. They filmed an 8th one and they never aired it. I mean, it was. Extremely.
Is it now viewable?
Yes, it's now viewable, I think, on Hulu, which is probably one of the reasons why they, are promoting it with this documentary. But the documentary is really good. I mean, people have been talking about this show for a long time because it was famously like
Ahead of its time?
Way ahead of its time. I mean, like, the writers and actors included Robert Smigel ran the whole operation. Louis C.K. was the head writer.
Who was Robert Smigel again? Was he a Conan writer?
He was
Triumph the Incel Comic Dog and Conan writer, and he's done all kinds of things. But Louis C.K. was the head writer. Stephen Colbert was on the show.
Wow.
Steve Carell was on the show. Bill Hader. Like, I mean, the list just like fucking goes on. Like, all these guys who are extremely influential now basically got their like
10 to
TV
15 years
start
before they were.
Yeah. And so like it was notable for that reason, but God, the documentary is so heartbreaking and just really excellent. Like they got almost everybody to participate, and just like hearing about how they were all so excited to just like, it was a great example of just a bunch of guys who thought like there's no way this could fail because you're all like so talented and everybody involved in this is just like at the peak of their fucking like they're all young and just super smart and super funny, and there's no way this could possibly fuck up. And of course, like the reason that it fucked up is that they were all young and super smart and just immediately clashed with 50-year-old like suits at ABC. Also in the midst of like that show getting approved,
that was
and
a show
greenlit. Disney bought ABC in between. And
that's
so,
a show built for the early days of cable that was on network TV instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it was on like Comedy Central, it would have been fine. But it's fascinating. And the documentary, it surprised me. They went to great lengths. Like, for instance, they got this LA Times critic who wrote a negative review of the first episode to come on. And he was describing the fan mail, like the hate mail that he got from people who loved the show. And he read a particular piece of mail that was just, outrageous. Like, and then they went and tracked the guy down who wrote that and got him on camera.
Wow.
I mean, it was this. They did some very good things in this. I don't want to spoil it because there are a lot of good moments, but it actually is worth watching just for sort of like the process and just kind of the, I don't know, atmosphere of like a failed TV show.
This is a strange question. It has nothing to do with the substance of your endorsement or that show or anything. But I'm just curious. Did that hate mail read differently to what modern internet hate, like social media?
Yeah, was this like "I hope you kill yourself," etc.?
It was close. I can't entirely
remember.
But it's
always been that awful.
It was pretty vitriolic. Yeah. I mean, there would have been probably
the
word choice probably would be today a little more vile. I would suspect, but it was.
Also, I assume the critic was a man. So
yes. So,
yeah.
But anyway, it's a very interesting, and actually also it's a pretty decent. They highlight most of the sort of sketches and things that you'd want to watch out of that show. So it's a nice way of just kind of like diving into whatever that Dana Carvey show was.
Because I would imagine as a sketch show, it's still probably hit or miss.
Yes, it's incredibly hit or miss.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one of the reasons why it didn't stick.
Right. Yeah.
But
the
hits were incredibly notable.
I'm always skeptical of documentaries like that entirely portray the thing as, and it only failed because of these terrible suits.
Yeah.
And it's like, that probably was part of it, but it,
No, they all, I mean, it's funny because they're just, they talk about specific sketches and they just start laughing about how fucking insane it was that they put that on television and how like racist this particular thing was in the 90s, or like, it's very good as like a 20 years later examination of something that just.
Right. That's good that there's some self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Jake, have you cobbled together an endorsement?
Please, Chris. This endorsement was on lock from the beginning of this episode.
Oh, is that
sure.
true? Okay.
Well, no. But what I would like
to think back to 50 minutes ago when you conceived your endorsement.
What I would like to endorse is a restaurant.
Huh.
I would like to endorse the Pacifica Taco Bell.
Oh my God.
Man.
Whoa.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, you go.
The Pacifica is a just sort of like seaside town south of San Francisco.
Yeah, like half an hour south.
And it has what is probably the best Taco Bell in the world. On the beach, there's a parking lot and then just a big, huge expanse of beach. And in the middle of it, there's a Taco Bell that's like made out of wood and looks like basically some like beach house.
It just looks like a beach chalet.
Yeah. It's got a big outdoor patio. It's got a walk-up Taco Bell window that says, like, if you have sandy feet, order your Taco Bell here. So you can walk from the beach up onto this deck, walk up to a window, order Taco Bell, and then just sit down on a patio and eat Taco Bell.
Yeah.
It's a really good place to go if you live in the Bay Area and are just sort of like sad and annoyed at something and want to sit by the beach and eat a fucking
hard tacos.
Yeah, just eat that Mexican pizza, or whatever, your enchilada.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the Pacifica Taco Bell.
Man, you should.
That's also the first Taco Bell that I ever went to, and it ruined Taco Bell for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, now we are just down the street from a Taco Bell cantina.
I know, but it's not. It's like a shit one.
I know, they don't serve alcohol there.
Yeah, regular Taco Bell cantinas are supposed to have a margarita machine, but this one got NIMBY'd away.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, San Francisco homeowners.
But yeah, Pacifica Taco Bell. Nick, you have a Pacifica Taco Bell counter.
No, not necessarily a counter, but my Pacifica Taco Bell experience was we were driving up the Highway 1 at like midnight, and it was the only thing open, and so we stopped there, and it was dark, and so I had no idea that it had like an amazing view or anything. It was just a Taco Bell that we stopped at.
It's a beautiful ocean view from the deck.
I got none of that, and then I went in there and ate Taco Bell, and it made me sick. So that was
no.
But then like I saw the Pacifica Taco Bell on the internet or whatever.
Yeah, there's been. It's too bad that.
And I went, oh no! I had the worst experience of
A few weekends ago, Dana and I were like, God, what are we? We should just go to the beach.
Just run to the border.
And then we're like, God, let's go to Pacifica. Yeah. Let's go to the Pacifica Taco Bell. And then we like went and did like a hike around the beach, and then ended it at a Taco Bell, which is out of control.
Yeah.
I'm not globally endorsing Taco Bell. I'm just endorsing the Pacifica Taco Bell.
Right, sure. Man, it's too bad you didn't get on that endorsement like a week ago, because you could have totally preempted there's been like a minor internet awareness of Pacifica Taco Bell. Yeah. But you've been a booster of that thing for years and years and years.
Yes, I'm a longtime fan of the Pacifica Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But yeah, a website recently ran an article, which is what reminded me of it, so I'm endorsing it now.
Yeah.
Sorry that I'm behind on my endorsement.
Okay. Your endorsement comes backed by decades of experience.
It's a great Taco Bell.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps it up for this week's episode of Important If True. Thank you so much for joining us here on this somewhat uncharacteristically cursed episode of Important If True. If you have a problem, you need solutions, you need advice, please write in to questions@importantiftrue.com, and we will do our best. If you would like an ad-free version of this podcast, check it out. Check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/idlethumbs, where both this show and our video game podcast, Idle Thumbs, are available ad-free on your own private RSS feed. And
exclusive feed.
Exclusive. There are other rewards and benefits, and you can read all about them there at patreon.com/idlethumbs. If you do like this show, tell a friend. It really is the pretty much the one and only way we have to spread the word. It's word of mouth really is all we got. So it means a lot to us when you do that, when you tell your friends in person, when you spread word of this podcast on social media. All of that is a massive help to us, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much if you ever have or will. And with that, we will be back next week. For Idle Thumbs, I am Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
# stay spicy.
Fuck you. Gee, what? Are you kidding me?
The end of you guys introduced that last week. The end of this podcast is now just my slow motion, long-term attempt to create rancor and bitterness.
God, yeah. Go to tribe.al/stay spicy or whatever, like your social media specialist, Chris Remo.
Bye.